I'd now like finally to ask Owen Keenan, who's the Chair Designate of the Advisory Council and the former CEO of Bernardo's, to say a few words to you. Owen, you're very welcome.
Taoiseach, Taoiseach, Minister, Corlin and Oak representatives from around the country, it's great that you're here and very important as well. And I'm sure that you're all tired from hearing the various presentations, so I promise I won't keep you too long. But I am very pleased to have the opportunity to contribute to the launch of Better Outcomes and Brighter Futures. I'd like to congratulate the Minister and her department on leading its development, and also to congratulate the government as a whole for agreeing a very coherent and integrated policy approach. I'm sure you'll agree that there remains a very full agenda in enabling children and young people, supported by their families, to be appropriately protected while having the opportunity to fully realise their potential and to contribute to society. We must ensure that children and young people experience communities, societies, and indeed a world where their rights are respected and protected. Thankfully, we're not starting from square one. There have been significant improvements in learning over the last 15 years or so that have informed the development of the policy framework and will assist in its implementation. And implementation is key. As Jim said, implementation, implementation, implementation. I fully agree with that. Ultimately, the framework will be judged in terms of its impact on the lives of children and young people. And I know that everyone who was associated with its development is committed to assuring that. The last children's strategy was itself groundbreaking and progressive, but I believe that we now have better systems, structures and collaborative arrangements at local level to facilitate implementation. The integrated whole of government approach recognises that most policy arenas impact on children and young people's lives, and it's welcome. The implementation of the framework should strengthen the coordination of policy across government. While the Department of Children and Youth Affairs appropriately has lead responsibility, what's striking and innovative is the active engagement of other key departments and agencies in taking responsibility for key elements. It's a significant departure that I believe strengthens the prospects for the effective implementation of the framework. However, I'd like to suggest that in addition to a whole of government approach, it's important that we all commit to a whole of society approach to improving the lives of children and young people. I believe we all share a responsibility in this regard. The engagement of civil society is really going to be important here, since it's in their involvement with both formal and informal community-based facilities, activities and services that children and young people experience the world beyond their immediate family. I believe the framework's implementation structures will facilitate this at both local and national levels. I'm particularly pleased that they provide an opportunity for the direct representation of the non-statutory interests that will be on the Advisory Council in the Children and Young People's Policy Consortium. As I understand the structures, there will be an opportunity to make a meaningful contribution, and there will also be appropriate accountability at every level. There will be a challenge in this too, because if we take on board the logic of the integrated and inclusive approach of the framework, we need to recognise that we can't and we mustn't seek to own children and young people, or to compartmentalise those aspects of their lives that fit with our individual interest or expertise. A strength of the framework is its recognition of the wholeness of children and young people's lives. The way it's set out and the architecture that is being put in place to support its implementation are logical expressions of this perspective. So I'd like to suggest a need for collective honesty and humility in recognising that while we have a contribution to make, none of us, either individually or institutionally, can deliver real change on our own. My aspiration is that the implementation of the framework won't just amount to the sterile delivery of formal policy commitments, but it will also be accompanied by enthusiasm and ambition, recognising or continuing, though hopefully lessening, economic constraints. Set within the context of public sector reform and the accompanying opportunities to shift spending from ineffective to proven programmes and prudent approaches, it's my belief that there's a real opportunity to make substantial progress towards the realisation of the vision for children and young people. The key test of the framework will be how children and young people's lives will have been enhanced by 2020. Logic suggests that it will require coherent and integrated action on many fronts. I believe we all share a responsibility to give it our best shot. Thank you.
And it just remains for me to thank all of you for being here today. Today is a beginning. The hard work starts now, and I know everybody in this room is going to play their part. I want to thank Secretary-General Jim Breslin again and all of the staff, the Secretary-Generals from other departments who have worked so cohesively with him to help us produce this document, as well as all the stakeholders and service providers and frontline workers who form part and parcel of the work going forward. Taoiseach and Taoiseach, thank you very much indeed for being here with us today. It's great to have both of your commitment to the implementation of this very important strategy for children. Thank you all again, and as I say, very special thanks to Taoiseach and Taoiseach, whom I know have to leave now. Thank you very much indeed.